So before we start, obviously we want to make sure the paint is protected. This particular car came in perfectly detailed and spotless. If they do not come in, we always start with detailing them. That way the paint surface is clean, because anything that you put over the paint to protect it, if there's dirt on the paint, it will scratch the clear coat, especially on a black car. I mean, on any car, but a black car, it's very apparent. Getting ready to start on the car, obviously. Put some protected film wrap over the fenders. On the table, we got the computer back from HP Tuners. They unlocked it for us. So they expedited this process for us very quickly, so super appreciative for that. And then touch base on it, so the leg maker cold air intake, Chris was nice enough to spend his Sunday making this, and he next day aired it for us, so we got this in. This is gonna be a really nice addition. It does legitimately add power on the Trackhawk and the Charger platform, but it also makes the Supercharger sound much more aggressive. So when we get done, you'll be able to hear that for yourself. So that's about it. Everything else is here or on its way here. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. Okay, so first of all, we kind of cheated a little bit. We already pulled the PCM out. So initially what we did when they first dropped the car off is we installed a security bypass cable from HP Tuners that allows us to read and write the computer. So on 2018 and above, all the Dodge platforms, you have to do that. In addition to that, you have to unlock the PCM. So we could do it in a timely manner. What we did is we went ahead and as soon as the car came in, we installed the cable. We took a stock read of the PCM calibration. We went ahead and pulled it out and then next day aired it to HP Tuners and then expedited the service. So now we already have it back. So I'm just gonna basically take this cowl off because we're gonna take this off anyway. Not only to install the PCM, but I'm gonna show you all how to remove the cowl, where the PCM is located. And this needs to come off to remove the Supercharger. So that's the main thing that we need to accomplish first, because Brent at Jokers is going to modify the Supercharger for us. And since this is a brand new car with 0 miles, we don't want to do any kind of a core exchange or anything like that. He's offered to expedite this, drop what he's doing, and modify this Supercharger as soon as it comes in, and which is super helpful. So we have the exact Supercharger that came off the car, which is what we always do anyway. I don't really like swapping out cores. And so we'll have that back in a few days. So we'll get that off first, and then we can be doing the rest of the build. Okay, so first thing we got to do is remove the windshield wiper arms. You just saw me remove the 2 black caps. You just very carefully pry underneath, or just kind of press fit, and then the 2 15mm nuts that are on there. Kind of wiggle this off. And obviously on a brand new car, this comes off very easy. A car that's got some miles, the water's gotten down in there and corrosion. Sometimes you might have to use a puller, a few cuss words, whatever to come off, but luckily it's super easy. And just in case you're wondering, you cannot get these backwards. It'd be very evident which one is which, but the order that I lay it out on the table is the way they come off, which helps me. So some of these push pins are removed. They're inside the car, but I'll show you along this side. So you're just gonna pry underneath here. I prefer to do that instead of underneath here because these plastic clips can get damaged real easy. So I'm basically using the entire support from the cowl to lift these off. So when you take this cowl off, up in the corner, there is a piece of rubber here, and what you want to do is go ahead and get your towel underneath here to protect the paint, and then slide your tool in between like that. You have to, it's a little bit different on the Challenger, but same process. So obviously you need some sort of protective barrier, or you can scratch this fender like very easily. And to put it back in, it's real easy, you just pop it in. So you just have to be super careful when you're removing them. And then from there, there's just a series of push pins that go along the bottom of the windshield. Pretty easy. And there we go, the cowl is off. So same thing, we'll just take the pins out from behind the plastic. Okay, so as you can see, the PCM is out of the car right now. We already sent it out, so those 2 bolts are in the car. So we'll go ahead and we'll put the PCM back in since we have it. So the 2 bolts on the other side look just like these, same size. Hey, Daniel, you want to give me a hand real quick? So I just want to take this out with, just make sure not to scratch anything. This has got this plastic guard. And I want to kind of pick it up and then go your way just a little bit out of the wiper motor. There we go, perfect. Okay, so on this thing, this engages with the wiper motor. And if you can do it by yourself, but if you got somebody to hold one in, it's really, you know, make sure you don't scratch anything. He took the PCM out. So normally we wait for a little bit because the PCM's gone. But since we already have this back, we're just gonna go ahead and put it in the car. So it's pretty easy. So when you send your PCM in to have it unlocked, you're gonna have this little plastic bushing right here. You're gonna wanna remove this and make sure you hold on to this so it doesn't get lost in shipping. So I'm putting it in right now. You can get this PCM in and out with that cross brace that we just took out, but it's just a lot easier to do it with it removed. That cross brace that we just took out will go underneath this. So I'm just gonna put the nuts in here and just leave them like hand tight. And then when we go back with the cross brace, when we're done, we'll tighten it all the way back up. We'll remove these. These look pretty good. They had these done in orange to match everything else. So stock, these are just silver. So I think it's a really good accent against the rest of the stuff on the car. Normally, this entire plastic thing is not here. So this is gonna limit us with some access behind the supercharger. But what I think I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna leave it in place and try to work around it because it does tie in. We'll have to take the entire wiper linkage out, which is not a big deal, but it doesn't look like it's gonna be any big deal to just work around it. So we'll see how it goes. So we're gonna take off the factory airbox here. So you don't have to take those screws all the way out. You can leave them in a little bit. And so this is part of the evap system. I'm not exactly sure how we'll tie this into our catch can because this setup's a little bit different, but we'll come up with something later on in the build. I'll just set this aside. So now we have the stock airbox. You can kind of see right here where the Challenger has the dedicated hole in the headlight. So the Charger doesn't have that, but we talked about on the new Hellcat Widebody review that you can see in through here where there is a way to funnel air in through the grille. It's not the direct headlight, but there's a hole right here behind the grille, and you can see that it funnels air in just like this. So it's probably a little less effective than the Challenger, but it still has basically the same type of deal in it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get the front bumper, go ahead and get it off the car. To get the supercharger off, I'm gonna have to start working right here. And again, I don't wanna mess the paint up or even take a chance on it. Okay, so I've already got the car racked, and then I've already placed my film where the bumper line is. I checked to make sure that we don't have to pull the flares out, which we don't, which is good. So we're gonna go ahead and raise it up. Okay, so I always use these sockets. For any of y'all that don't know what these are, they're very thin wall, and they've got a plastic shield on them. So these do a real good job at protecting your wheels. So you want to be super careful when you take these off, so you do not scratch the caliper. Okay, so all these Hellcat-based vehicles, they use different types of push pins in the wheel well. Some of them use plastic rivets. This one does not. So this is a really handy trim tool. It's a Snap-on or Blue Point. This tool's relatively inexpensive, I think 20, 30 bucks or something. Okay, so we've got this APR front splitter. We're gonna raise it up. Shouldn't come into play. I don't know exactly how they mounted this, but it appears just to be on the bumper itself. So, hey, what's up, man? We're just gonna take this splitter off. And so my plan is I'm just gonna take it loose from here, and I'm just gonna let those rods stay attached to the top, and then tape the rod off. That way it can't get scratched. There we go. That way if we take them loose from here and it hangs, touches that, you don't have to worry about it scratching the bumper or anything. So it looks like they've got some wiring, some lighting started here. So normally, without the splitter on, we would take this front guard off and we could access the stuff up at the front. But as with this aftermarket stuff like this, sometimes it poses an issue. So we'll see what we can access. And we might just leave the splitter in place. Okay, so it looks like we've got one 10mm bolt up in here, feels like, and then one right here. The bottom one looks fairly easy to get to, top one not so much. So if this bumper does in fact look like it's gonna come off with the splitter, then what I'll do is I'll take that tape off and then reattach the bottom ones. Just leave it all as one piece. Yeah, so it's somewhere right around in here. It's going down this direction. Hey Logan, was it just the two 10mm up top and then the two in each fender well? Here and here on yours?
Yeah, there should be one here, and one here.
Okay. So since we verified that, we're just going to go ahead and reattach these and remove the tape. When the bumper's off, I'll show you how this APR splitter is attached to the bumper. These strut rods, they don't look very substantial. Obviously, cosmetically, they do look pretty cool, but they are definitely necessary. If you try to run this front splitter without both these support rods, you will definitely break this. It gives the front enough support for wind to not crack it. You lose one, damage one, what'll happen is the top of the rod is just mounted through the bumper, and it can actually break the bumper itself if you just try to run one. So then you'll be buying an entirely new bumper. So you don't want to do that. You know how I know that? There was this guy named Bimble. That. Then there was this other guy. His name was Brenton. He's the one who had to buy a bumper. Cool story, huh? There we go. Where should we put this since we're doing those?
Put it in front of the, right next to it. If I get it Thursday, at the latest, I should be able to get it done Thursday and Friday, and then hopefully it'll be good Monday.
Yes, we have the supercharger off, but we also have ourselves set up for a couple other things. We got the thermostat out, which is obviously not a big deal. And we've already got everything set up on the sides to easily access the coil packs. I'm old though. The last cartridge I remember is the old Nintendo where you had to blow in the cartridge to get it to work.